From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production, the NFL Bet Exchange, hosted by my man, Pop DiBiase, the primetime capper, and the Don of Cape Cod, Jeff Dawson.
What's up? What's up? What's up? It is time for the NFL Bet Exchange with your host, the one and only Pop DiBiase, the primetime capper, and our host with the mostest on the East Coast, none other than the Don of Cape Cod himself. And do I need to say his name? It's right there, Mr. Jeff Dawson. How you doing, sir? How's everything going with you today?
It's going. Week, 4 already? Sunday, October 1st. You blink and you turn the page of a calendar. The NFL, I love the two games on Monday night. It's fun watching, being able to go back and forth. They give you an hour in between. I just think this should be an every week thing, as we've talked about. Get rid of the Thursday night games and then do this religiously. Thanksgiving comes, start to add the Saturday games. But I'm not Mr. Goodell. I don't work for the union, but I'm blessed and honored to be a part of the NFL Bet Exchange.
All right. So you know what, man? Our job is to deliver, and that's what we've been doing the past few weeks, even though, some might look at this and say, you guys are doing all right. But through 3 weeks, this is how me and Jeff are looking. I went 9-7 last week. Jeff went 9-7 last week. I was able to shape some things up, cut down on my losses, and add some wins. Now I'm 23-25 for the year. Jeff is sitting at 25-23. Of course, Jeff has above 500 record 3 weeks in. That's like normal for him, and it's always normal for me to be kind of in the middling situation, because I do stupid stuff like taking the Cowboys over the Cardinals, knowing good and damn well that you take the plus 13 when they hand it to you, especially when it's a team that's an old rival. They don't ever want to admit that the Cardinals were an old rival of theirs, but they are. And it's the biggest game in Arizona every time they come to town, and it exactly went to script. Script. So it is what it is at the end of the day. So let's go ahead. We got week 3 behind us. Let's get into week 4. And where are we at? We have ourselves the Thursday night football game to start off with. And this will be between two old rivals. These guys have been going at it for almost 100 years, Jeff. And that's going to be the Lions, who are coming into this bad boy 2-1. And you have the Packers, who are 2-1. And for the first time in 37 years, Jeff, they are going to be the dog in Green Bay, the Packers against the Lions. And last spread, it was a -2.5. And it's crazy because the way I set this up was, on my odds, I had this as a -1.5 to the Packers. I still favor the Packers in this situation. But when I look at this game, I see a lot of good things on Detroit's side. Detroit's coming in here. Last 6 meetings at Lambeau, 6-6. They beat them last time at Lambeau as well, too. When you look at their last 10 meetings, they're even 5-5. So this game matches up very well. It's no more of the Packers stomping out the Lions. So you can't use that you couldn't even use that when Rodgers was still here. So when I look at the way the Lions are coming into this game and the way that they were able to shut down the run the way that they did on Sunday against probably the best NFC running team there is in the Falcons, and they turned the Falcons team into a one-dimensional team. They were able to get, I think, 9 sacks or something of that nature, and Aiden Hutchinson was able to get 2. So it shows you that their investments are paying off now. And their investments were on the defensive side and in the trenches, the basic things that help you get to the level of being a winner. And I feel like with Jared Goff as your quarterback, he plays fearless. It doesn't matter what people think about the guy, what people say about the guy. The guy's going to go in there and do his job and try to get his team the victory. And this team can easily be 3-0. But they are going through the motions of things. They bounced back very well, got themselves a complete win last week against a team that was 2-0 coming in. I feel like they're going to be the better team going into this game because Green Bay had to really fight for that win. And we still don't know how they won that game, but they won the game. And pretty much their defense stepped it up against an inept offense. That's what happened. Jordan Love was able to take advantage of some things, and a very good Saints defense just got tired. It's that simple, and they were able to win the game. So I'm going to go ahead and take this one as another back-to-back win for the Lions, who did this back in 2017 and 2018 as well, too. So I like the Lions to win this game with the minus 125. Jeff, your thoughts?
Yeah, our opening number was Green Bay -1 with a 42.5. Right now it's circa. It is Detroit -1.5 with a 45.5. So basic math says 24-21 right now. Lions, that's what they're expecting. Some people will take the Lambeau leap of faith. Great momentum builder, 17-0 down, come back to 18-0 win, 18 straight points for the 18-17 win. A Lions team that you have to take a look at how they shut down Bijan and Algier on Sunday. Again, they also defensively shut down Pitts. They shut down London, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Short week, but obviously both teams know each other inside and out. The assumption that Montgomery again won't play. We're expecting Gibbs to finally do something. Listen, I'm not saying he's been a bust, but again, we're expecting a lot more. But expect Goff to hit St. Brown, Hawkinson. The defense is the surprise, and Hutchinson has just been a beast. I, too, am going to go on the side of the Lions. I'm not going to leave the 1.5 points on the desktops. I'm going to take them on the money line as well as you. Just win, baby, win. I like the Lions here. Probably first one to 24 wins. I think it'll be like that 24-20 game.
Sounds good to me. It's going to be a lot of fun on Thursday Night Football when we get to that game, and I look forward to one of the better games of the week. I put that in the top 5 category of possible games of the week right there, because it's very important, because it's a divisional game. And you know what? Divisional games are what make or break your season as well, too. All right, so let's move forward and go into the London game. And I'm glad we don't do divisionals in London. I'm really happy that we don't do that, because that would be really a discredit to the home fans and things like that. Those are the games they got to go to. Those are the rivalry games. But we got two teams that are not that far from each other. Atlanta's not that far from Jacksonville. So it's going to be a pretty good matchup between two South teams. You got the NFC South represented by the Falcons, and you got the Jags representing the AFC South. You got the Jags coming off of would you say a surprise loss? There's never a surprise loss in a divisional game. I'm sorry. A lot of people can say what they want, but I even said it yesterday in my segment about the Texans win. The Texans won because they had a great finish to their game against the Colts. Sometimes those garbage time moments get you confident for the next week. You go into practice feeling good, like, hey, man, I figured some things out. Things got a lot easier. And then you say, okay, we're going against another division opponent. We have more than a scouting report. We have an extended scouting report on this team. So we know exactly what's coming. And the Jaguars walked in there, and I guess they saw the video of the guy who said that they were free money to win the division this year and all that good stuff. The highest odds to win a division this year. Minus what 220, what it was, Jeff, for them to run away with the South. And me and Jeff told you guys when during the preview of both Southern divisions, they're both wide open. You're not handing this to anybody. So you might be overspending your money if you trust the Jaguars, because they were a team that had a late push at the end of the year. That was nice, but they were a slow cooker. Let's keep it real. They were absolutely awful in the first half of the season because they had to figure some things out, and they had expectations in the first half of the season. And then we didn't care anymore, and then they stepped it up. So that's why I said the Jaguars, I think that people got a little too excited about them a little bit too quickly. Trevor Lawrence is a good quarterback, but he has to be in a flow. If he's out of his flow, it's going to be tough. It's going to be a tough day for him. Atlanta is a surprise team. We can keep it real. Atlanta kind of had an over, as we like to say, a square, as we like to say at the track, against Carolina in week 1. Let's keep it real. You're going against a rookie quarterback that is trying to figure it out. Week 2, you guys had a great push from your home crowd, and you were able to come back in a game against an inexperienced quarterback and a defense that's not that disciplined. So you guys go 2-0. Then when you had to play in a game against a team that has expectations like the Lions do, they got absolutely scrapped. So you look at it and say, okay, the Falcons' run game has to be it for them to do well. I'm looking at the Jags numbers. The Jags aren't doing that great with stopping the run. And they are very susceptible to the quarterback run as well, too, Jeff. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and do this. I'm going to go ahead and be a little froggy, but I'm about to leap, brother, and give me the Falcons plus 130 in this game. I feel like they go into London and they go ahead and knock off the Jaguars. I feel like the Jaguars are going to be a constant overbet by everybody because everybody's so sure that they'll win a game in Europe. Your thoughts?
Yeah, London, that's where the Jags have been talked about forever, is where they're moving to once they move out of Jacksonville. They've had great success in London. Now let's go back to this Jaguar team that you and I talked about, that the whole world says was printing free money. I mean, there's no one in that division that's going to win the division other than the Jaguars. And we know it. We did that to Indy last year as well. So, and it happens every year, whether it was Tennessee, Indy, or now Jacksonville, because don't forget, everyone has just counted out this Houston team, which, CJ Stroud has looked amazing, but we'll get to them. 2 clunkers in a row. They win in Indy, a tough fought battle opening week. Then in come the Chiefs, and they shut Lawrence right down, and then 10-point favorites against Houston, and their offense, again, nowhere to be found. Supposedly here a get well spot for them, a surprising Atlanta team 2-1. The whole world will be on Jacksonville. Bounce back, get well for Trevor Lawrence, ETN, Calvin Ridley, Ingram, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I'm gonna take the I'll take the carrot here. I'm not gonna lay the spread. My true number was 1 with a 41. Now it's up to 3 and a 43.5. This has got 23-20, 24-20 written all over it. I'm not going to lay the points. I'll lay the money line minus 150 and hope the Jags get a win, get back to 500, and then get their butts back home.
Well, me, and there's a lot of pressure on those people that overpaid for those division futures. I already know, sweating it out each game there is pretty much. So it's gonna happen. We know. So let's move forward. Let's jump into a game that's gonna probably be the most talked about game of the week, and that's gonna be the Dolphins 3-0, Bills 2-1. We got the Bills coming in 2.5 point favorites, and then we have the over under of 53.5. So I'm gonna let you kick this one off, Jeff. What are your thoughts on this game, and who do you have winning this game?
I'm trying to go through my memory bank here. Vegas, Bills. Who'd the Bills have last week?
The Bills played against the Commanders last week and won that game 7-3.
Okay, so look at this way. Again, you got this Dolphins team right now that starts 2-0 on the road at the Chargers, at the Patriots. Come home, which was supposed to be a tough fought, sense of urgency game for the Broncos, and a minute and a half in, it's 7-0. 5 minutes in, it's 14-0. Thanks for playing. They put up a 70 burger. Now, the real sense of urgency here is on the Bills, and I'll tell you why. They're 2-1 right now. With a loss at home to the Dolphins, they'll be 2 games behind the Dolphins, yet they'll be 0-2 in divisional games. They lost at the Jets home opener. At the Jets first game of the week, and now they'll be playing the Dolphins. So this is a true must win, which we know what happens with must wins here. But what I did here, my true number here was a pick 'em with a 53.5. Right now at Circa, it's up to 3 and 53.5. So again, like the Jacksonville play, you want to get in early here because again, this number is moving all to the Bills. I will tell you this: at 3, the sharps are just going to say, "Okay, you're going to give me a field goal with the Dolphins. I'm going to take it all day and see if it goes to 3.5. It won't. Bills must win. Give me the money line. Hope and pray. But again, if you're not putting pressure on Tua, Raheem Mostert, other than CMC, the best back in the game right now, especially for fantasy purposes. His rookie part 2 running back, Mr. Achane, had 4 touchdowns as well. We'll be interested to see how they use him. I assume Jalen Waddle will be back. They did all that last week without Jalen Waddle too. So expect Waddle to be back. It's going to be a fun game. The game of the week, hands down the best game of the week. First 1 to 30 wins here, Pops. I'm taking the Bills minus 145 on the money line.
All right. So I'm looking at some things, and you know what, Jeff? The other night I was actually, I kind of put myself to sleep every night with these old school NFL playoff games from the 90s and the 80s and stuff like that. And I had one on the other night, and it was the Dolphins and the Bills back in 1990 when the divisional champion. And the Bills really never had games like that for a long time, where divisional round they're going against the Dolphins. And then I looked at, they showed the all-time record. The Dolphins were 35-14-1 all-time against the Bills in that game. I'm looking at it now, Jeff. Guess what the record says today? 62-56-1. Crazy. 33 years later, and literally it's now a somewhat of a rivalry. It sounds a lot like the Browns and the Steelers. The Browns started off with a spot 'em 20 up situation, and then now you guys know how it goes now with the Steelers and the Browns. So I just wanted to say that fun story real quick. And the last time the Dolphins won in Buffalo, it was Christmas Eve 2016. So this is a very make or break game for the Dolphins. But one thing about the Dolphins is this: the Dolphins will probably be the flavor of the week this week, but they'll also be the team that everybody's fading this week because they just dropped 70 points in a game, and they will have a big target on their back to how are we going to stop this team. That's becomes the now, message in all these locker rooms for the next month or so. But Buffalo wants to make sure they don't get embarrassed. And the Dolphins will probably come into this game with a lot of different looks. They're going to probably come into this game with something that the Bills haven't seen yet as well. And I'm going to keep it real. It took me a while to come around with McDaniels, but McDaniels is a mad genius. He's actually what Sean McVay used to be, innovative, smart, and he's going to run plays and see if it works. Even if it doesn't look that sexy on film, hey, I got 30 yards off of it. And that's where the Dolphins are getting their mojo from. They reminded me a lot of how McVay was when he took over the Rams in the beginning. They're exciting. It's tough to stop a team like this, and they're playing great defense as well too. And Tua's playing just lights out MVP type ball. And I like Buffalo, but I feel like Josh Allen is still going to be your issue here. And it's going to be big issues here. And I think Miami has it on their mind to get their sweet revenge after almost winning that playoff game last year in Buffalo. So I feel like Miami goes into this game and they shock the system once again, and they improve to 4-0 on the season and against the spread as well too, Jeff, because Miami is a spread monster this year. And guess who else is a spread monster this year as well too? The Cardinals. And also the Eagles, of course, and I'm trying to think of my third team right now, Green Bay. So there you have it. So I'm with the another dog for me, Jeff, plus 125 to the Dolphins. I feel good about this one. And I know usually when they make an undefeated team the favorite, I mean the dog, they usually lose. They know what they're talking about with this. But I just think that this Dolphins team is better, and they're going to use this game as motivation this week to win. It's that simple. So with
You
that,
know, I'm going to interject for 1 second because this is the same setup. Actually, I think the spread might have been 4 or 5, but this was the playoff game when Cincinnati came in against Buffalo. Cincinnati was the better team, but yet Buffalo was 3.5, 4-point favorites, whatever they were. And Cincinnati came in and punched them in the gut, 14-0 quick. And then the snow came and the rest was history. Again, this Miami team can score from anywhere on the field, whether it's Mozart, whether it's Waddle, whether it's Hill. And so the point is that Buffalo defense is quick. They're fast. But if they're going to do a lot of blitzing and they don't get to Tua, there's going to be a lot of big plays there. And we know Josh Allen has regressed and he starts to make a few of these bonehead plays. And if he starts coming from having to play from behind, look for the Miami defense, to take advantage of it. And so hats off to you because your money line with Atlanta and your money line with the Dolphins, you split that and go 1-1. You're making money. For me, I went the other way. I took the two favorites. If I split, I lose money. So I got to go 2-0 not to lose money. So hats off to you. I love where your eyes are on those two games, by the way.
thank you, sir. And I just always say to myself that you know what, when they make these spreads 2.5, 1.5, just pick the winner. You don't have to play with the spread, play with the line, because these are the ones that will burn your spread parlay. It's happened where everything came into place and then that damn plus 2.5 didn't come in, or the minus 2 didn't come in because they won by 1. And you tell yourself, damn, we could have just paid the extra insurance and just got the money line. Oh man, we could have got the plus money and just went that way. You know what I mean? But it happens. But thank you very much, sir. And I feel like, I'm just trying to put the bettors in a sharp way. But you know what? They're 50-50 games. So I think we're doing about what the consensus is doing with these games, regardless of anything. So, yep. We move forward. Let's go ahead and talk about the Broncos and the Bears. This is winless on winless, Jeff. Plus 3.5 to the Bears. Over under a 45.5. This game is stinky. I'm gonna let you go first, though. Tell us what your thoughts are on this game and who wins. Because we don't need to go into what do they need to do. What about this game and who wins?
My true number was 3 with a 44.5. It's still at 3 and 45. So the only movement right now is a smidge to the over. When's the last time Broncos had a head coach that was successful? It's been a long time. And then when's the last time they had a quarterback? And they had to take I don't want to use the word retread, but they had to bring Peyton Manning over. And when they won the Super Bowl, it was the defense that won the Super Bowl. It wasn't Peyton Manning. It was check down Peyton Manning and Omaha. Two teams that right now are ascending towards the number 1 pick right now. You can't give up 70 points in an NFL game, especially when you are 0-2, the sense of urgency. The team quit. They quit at halftime. They were like, we can't come back here. There is a real divide now between Peyton and Russell Wilson. I'm hearing from a few people, it's not if, it's when he benches Russell Wilson. Now, Russell Wilson will be the scapegoat here. Javonte Williams hasn't led up to taking over a game. Their defense has been putrid. Judy is not 100%. Go to the other side. The writing now is on the wall. Justin Fields, at this point, it was not the right selection. There's a million quarterbacks coming out. A loss here is to 0-4. Now you're going to hear the same thing. I'm sorry about Justin Fields. Look for Roscoe to take over the backfield there. DJ Moore's been okay. Cole Kmet nowhere to be found. I bought the hook here. I took the Broncos down to 3. I wouldn't be shocked if the Bears laid a whooping on him and it was Justin Fields' coming out party. And that flight home from Chicago to Denver, you're going to hear a mouse. That's how quiet it will be. Loser of this game, the season's absolutely over. Not that the Broncos, if they do win at 1-3, have anything to say in the matter. Broncos -3. This game, I have zero confidence on either side. You're probably supposed to take the home dog and pray here, but we'll see what Sean Payton's made out of, Pops.
Well, I totally agree with the Broncos sentiments that the blame game is going to go on Russell Wilson. But before they blame Russell Wilson and before they blame Sean Payton, Vance Joseph is going to be the one that's going to get crucified. He's already been crucified after Sunday. And he was getting crucified in week 2 as well, too. Only week he didn't get talked about bad was week 1. So we know that he's going to be the first one on the chopping block. I don't even know how he still has a job right now, but he's still there. And we all know if you lose to the Bears on Sunday, heads are going to roll. It's that simple. Heads are about to roll. But one thing I can say about the Broncos management and their ownership group, Jeff, is that they're a little bit more patient than the Bears are, because the Bears have a fan base that is rabid, and they feel like they're entitled to being one of the elite teams in the NFL, because the NFL is a better place when the Bears are one of our better teams. And, they're hurt. Their feelings are hurt. They're hurt because they feel like they've made enough excuses for this team over time that, they should have been improved already. I'm going to keep it real. Justin Fields is not the Bears' problem. The Bears' problem is whoever's calling the plays, whoever's structuring this offense, whoever's calling this defense. Because look at the numbers. Justin had 143 total yards, passing and running. The team had 203 without him. Literally, he's your whole offense. So he can't be the problem. I refuse to say he's the problem, because you have other people out there not contributing the way that they're supposed to. And the Bears, if they don't have a great defense, they're not going to be a great team. They're not even going to be good. They're lower than mediocre. It's almost like we said in Moneyball, Jeff. What's that thing that's lower than the dirt? Yeah, that's where the Bears are at when their defense ain't good. But with all that said, I truly do feel like the Bears are going to make an effort of this game. I don't know if they win. But I know one thing, though. This game is going to come down to the final play. I'm taking the Bears with the +3.5 in this spot. And I feel like, home team, we don't have to take them to win the game, even though I probably am going to put them on straight up winners as the winner. But let's go ahead and let's have this last-ditch effort to try to at least make the game close. But if they get blown out, I'm going to tell you like this. That coach is probably getting fired before he even touches the tunnel. We can see a McCarthy situation all over again. Seriously, because they got to fire him before they kill him. That's the whole thing, because they don't play in Chicago. They're already frustrated about a whole bunch of other stuff going on in that city. The Bears they don't want the Bears to be a part of that. You know what I mean? So, hey, you got to do that coach a favor. If they lose on Sunday, he got to go for his own safety, period, point blank. So I'm taking the Bears +3.5, and that's going to be that. So we are 30 minutes in, a little bit over, but that's okay. That means we speed it up on the next run. So you guys just stay cool, stay right where you're at, and we'll be right back with the NFL Bet Exchange.
Good News Only Racing Club, led by the legendary Doug O'Neill, the trainer of 2 Kentucky Derby winners and I'll Have Another and Nyquist. Also trained 2-time Breeders' Cup champ Golden Sense, who are just a part of a long list of thoroughbred champions trained by Doug O'Neill. The Good News Only Racing Club has a young core of horses to look out for in Dennis's Celery, Irish Heatwave, and Notre Dame, just to name a few. Win the day every day with the Good News Only Racing Club, a proud sponsor of the NFL Bet Exchange.
From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.
Tune into Big Wave Boxing every week with a brand new guest with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the primetime capper, getting the best boxing stories, best boxing angles, and the truth when it all comes down to the sweet science. Tune into Big Wave Boxing on the Prime Wave Media channel on YouTube.
All right, we're back with the NFL Bet Exchange with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the primetime capper, and the Don of Cape Cod himself, Mr. Jeff Dawson. Let's go ahead and get into the Bengals and the Titans. The Bengals coming into this one 0-2. Oh, well, no, let me switch that. Because I have the whole Cincinnati ready to kill me right now. But it's 1-2. And y'all got to understand, for all you English teachers and all you people that want to always correct everything, it's because when I send this to Jeff on Mondays, we usually have a Monday night football game going, so I can't change the record around if I don't know what the record's going to be. But it's all good. So pretty much, you know what? These are things you take care of in prep. So Bengals, Titans. This game right here is one that's a little tricky in my opinion. I feel like you got two teams that are both kind of in the same boat right now. You have a Titans team that's trying to figure out their offensive woes. They've been a bad offensive team. They had a pretty good one against the Chargers because the Chargers are one of the worst defenses in the league. So that's going to happen. So you got a kind of a gimme spot with that one. But that was a game you really shouldn't have won. The Chargers really handed that game to them. But it shows the moxie of a coach like Mike Vrabel, this is why I always say if you give Mike Vrabel a team like the Chargers, the guy probably wins the Super Bowl, to be honest with you. But he gets the most out of probably some of the most average rosters in the NFL. And that's something that you have to look at and take for taking to fruition. And they're the home team. They're already 1-0 at home. We know that the Titans play much better at home. And I say this because I'm looking at their numbers right now. Since 2022, they have been they're not as good as they weren't as good last year, but since 2021, let's go there. They're 11-8, and I think that works out into their advantage. And I know once again the Bengals will probably be an over bet, but it's hard to trust a team with the guy who has a sore hamstring and everybody's kind of getting right into the flow of things and all that stuff. But you know what's going to make me trust the Bengals in this game? It's not their offense, Jeff. It's going to be their defense. Hendricks is playing absolutely lights out, and Pratt is playing absolutely lights out right now. Those guys are holding that defense down. And I said their defense did not have faces. Well, there goes the faces right there. They did a brilliant job last night of bringing the defense back. The defense had been real ragged the first 2 weeks of the year. But now they got their feet up underneath them. They're not playing against a divisional opponent. And they actually beat up offense that's better than both of the offenses that they just went against. Let's keep it real. You know that. Sean McVay has a much stronger playbook than the Ravens and the Browns. And they went ahead and they only allowed 16 points there. So we could probably say it was a revenge factor for what happened in the Super Bowl a few years back. But the Bengals had to get on the board. And I feel like now the Bengals will get into their groove and they'll go into Tennessee and make this game look a lot easier than it does on paper. I'm taking the Bengals with the minus 105 money line. Let's get it, Jeff.
You're starting to see a lot. I generally don't do this, but in the first 4 games, I took 3 money lines, and I'm going to follow your lead here. Again, 3 years in a row, Cincinnati starts the season 0-2. It is a short week. They muscled through. They played you could see the uptick in the offense in the second half. He was really trying to make a point to get Chase going, and he did. T. Higgins did not look good, went to the tent, came back, and he came back into the game. My point is, what I'm nervous most about is the offensive line versus the defensive line of the Titans. If they put pressure on Joe, you know that calf is not 100%. That will be the tale of this game, how much pressure they put on Joe. And what, as you stated very good, clearly, is how impressive the Cincinnati defense was. Stafford didn't have any time. The first couple games, the Pukus and the Tutus were getting open. They weren't yesterday or as easily. So I'm going to follow your lead here. My true number was a pick. And now it's still a pick with a 43.5. 43.5 at the Circa. And 41s everywhere else other than at Caesars in New Jersey. So some sharp money coming in on this over. First one to 23 wins this game, Pops. I got the Bengals 23-20.
All right, sounds good. Sounds good. Let's go ahead and get into our next game, another divisional game between the Bucks and the Saints. These two teams coming in here 2-1. Bucks lost their game last night to the Eagles. Eagles best team in the NFC, pretty much not named the 49ers. And you got the Saints, who were 2-1, coming off of could have been 3-0, but once again, Derek Carr brought his mojo over of losing double-digit games, even though he was put out of the game. Still, the stigmatism of double-digit leading games has walked over with Derek Carr. Pretty much that we know now that the Saints offense is going to get stagnant. And when they get stagnant, the defense is gonna have to really, really figure out how they can get a third wind, because they seem to be good with a second wind. But once that second wind is gone, they're through. And now it's like, okay, now you kind of can start seeing what people were complaining about in Vegas. You know what I mean? So Bucks Saints have became a very fun rivalry, but is it going to still be a rivalry since we don't have Breeze and Brady anymore a part of it? Also, you have new coaches that are a part of it with Bowles and Dennis Allen. Both were defensive assistants with these teams. So when I look at this game right here, I think the Baker magic is over with after last night. Baker's a feasible starter, but Baker's not going to get you to the promised land like that. Even though you got Mike Evans and Goodwin and all these guys that can play, we know that the Buccaneers, if he struggles, it's not gonna go well for them. And the Saints seem like they're the type of defense that's gonna give Baker Mayfield a lot of issues. But my biggest question is, can they hold the game? Can they hold the line? That's the whole thing. And I think with this game right here, knowing that they're going to be back at the Dome as well too, and we know that they played their last 2 games on the road, and they always play a little bit with more enthusiasm in the Dome. So I feel like they're going to take that into fruition into this game, knowing that this game is going to set them apart from the rest of the division. So I expect the Saints to be on their A game Sunday. I can't trust them with a spread, though, right now, Jeff, but I can trust them with the money line. And I'm going to spend some extra money here, but we're going to go ahead and put the minus 160 on the Saints to go ahead and win the game straight up. Jeff, what are your thoughts, and who do you have winning or covering this game?
Again, Monday nights, short week, so hard. You're going into a hostile environment in New Orleans. A team that had a 17-0 lead, obviously in Lambeau, and end up losing 18-17. My biggest concern is obviously it's going to be Jameis versus Baker. And what did I see from a Bucks team last night? I was impressed with Baker. This Philadelphia team on both sides of the ball is a beast right now, and they haven't even started to play their best ball, which is scary. If you don't have any futures on Philly, might be a good time to start adding them to your portfolio. But I think Rashard White, Godwin, Mike Evans, Cade Otton, I think offensively they can keep up. It's which defense prevails, which quarterback wins the turnover battle. I think I'm asking a lot here, but I bought the hook. I'm going to take the Bucks plus 3.5, and actually lean Baker over Jameis here. I had a 3 with a 38.5. It's up to 40 now, 40.5 at South Point with a 3. Listen, we'll go basic math here. 21-17, 21-18. If the Bucks can get to 20 pops, I think they cover the game. If they get to 23, I think they win the game outright, which would be a shocker. But I'm going to take Baker over Jameis here, and I'll make sure that we come back to this next Tuesday. But give me the Bucks plus the 3.5 here.
All right, sounds good. I think I'm just doing revenge games.
Well, don't forget. Hey, listen. This is the Jameis revenge game, right?
Right, but how many times we've had the Jameis revenge game and they just literally it didn't matter. You know what I mean? So, hey, it is what it is. But they did not lose that game last week because of Jameis Winston.
No,
I just want to make everybody understand that part. Jameis was not the reason why they lost the game last week, but he could have kind of moved the ball a little bit better for him as well too. But let's get into this game right here. Steelers, Texans. I always crack up, dude, because why did the Texans think that they were in the rightful ownership of having anything Oilers related? Like, you're not the same situation as the Browns in the Modell situation. And everybody knows that. The Browns were a team that was relevant into the NFL scheme of things over the last 30, 40 years before they had moved. The Houston Oilers were only a team that was relevant when they were good. And that's why you don't get your records, and that's why you don't get your colors, because literally they didn't even want to go back to Houston to put an NFL team there. LA just messed up back in 2002. So Houston, just know why you have a team now. You know what I mean? It's because LA just kept dropping the ball and they just got tired of it. And Houston had a billionaire that built a stadium. It's that simple. It's that simple. And so that's why the Texans are the Texans. But I just wanted to throw that in there because go ahead.
I don't see Bum Phillips, Dan Pastorini, Billy White Shoes Johnson, or Earl Campbell on the field.
Right. This is a common expansion team. You know what I mean? So, you know, and I say this because the Steelers and the Oilers used to be they were some really heavy hitting rivals, man, and you kind of miss it. And, you know, it didn't translate. It translated a little bit into the Tennessee time, but with the Titans and Steelers splitting up, then things get a little different. You know what I mean? So the rivalry's not the same anymore. But let's get into the game. And Jeff, I'm going to let you kick this one off. What are your thoughts on this game and who wins?
You know something, Pops? I was on a mountaintop last week. I was on a ledge. I could not understand what everyone saw in Vegas versus the Steelers. Excuse me. A Steelers team 0-2 that had faced the 49ers, which some think is the best team in the football right now, and then a very good Cleveland Brown team, which we know defensively is real good. So those are two of the top 5 or 6 defenses in the NFL. Pittsburgh now travels to a controlled setting in a dome, fast track, versus a Raiders team. Yes, it was the home opener, but defensively we understood was not that good. and could give up big plays, which they eventually did. Now, of course, Josh McDaniels, who I said to anyone that wanted to listen, when Vegas hired him, you made a mistake. You never should have hired this guy. I lived 45 minutes for him. I dealt with this guy for 2 damn decades almost. He's not that good. Tom Brady made him good. So when he gets fired sooner than later, then you guys can call me up and we'll talk about Jim Harbaugh or whoever else you want to replace him. But my point here is the Steelers got a defense that's going to travel. They got a second-year quarterback with weapons. Deontay Johnson is killing them being on the IR right now, but they're making headways. They got a 2-headed monster with Najee Harris, Jalen Warren. They got Pickens. Okay, so my point here is I was wrong. Hats off to CJ Stroud. This team's got weapons as well. They got Nico Collins. They got the rookie Tank Dell. They got a running back, Damian Pierce. My point is they're playing good ball, inspired ball. I took the Steelers here. I bought the hook. No, actually, I went money line here. I was like, just win, baby, win, baby. My true numbers on this was 3 with a 41.5. It's at 3 and 42.5. Sounds like a broken record, Pops. 23-20, 23-17. I like the Steelers to get to 3-1 here, Pops.
Well, Jeff, I love your thought. I love your thinking here. To be honest with you, I love your thinking here because it seems that you're all over the money line for them today for this game as well. Minus 160, and man, it's the right spot to overspend at. It's all good, and pretty much, I truly do feel that the Texans will be everybody's little dog bet of the week this week because they're now talking about CJ Stroud in a high regard. We totally forgot about the first 2 weeks where those gaudy stats that he got were all in garbage time. So pretty much those are what we like to call them old empty Drew Brees stats. You know what I mean? Where you're getting the numbers, but your team still lost the game convincingly, like it wasn't close. You know what I mean? And then you have the breakthrough game against the Jaguars, who did not take you as seriously as they should have. And that's what happens. And D'Amico Ryans, you got some confidence now. Now you guys are going into next week and this week, and you guys are confident. You're feeling good. You're feeling like you can be a contender in a wide open division. It makes sense. This is always the feeling that you get after your first win within the first 4 weeks of the season. Jeff, we know this. Everybody gets a little excited because we're early in the year. You still have a chance to really make your mark, make the playoffs. You still have the ideology of it. And I think now Houston's excited. They've won. They've gotten over that hump. But in reality, the Steelers have been written off. They've been told that they're not that good anymore. They've been told their quarterback is average at best. And they said that their running back is washed. Their wide receivers are inexperienced. Their tight end is just a blocker. Their offensive line is a shell of what they used to be. And the defense is pretty much carrying them. And really, at the end of the day, TJ Watt's carrying them because Hayward's on the sideline hurt, and he's the other disruptor. And really, it's just the TJ Watt show right now. But TJ Watt's so damn good that it doesn't really matter. Everybody else is just going to fall in line with that situation. And that's where the Steelers get my seal of approval. And I'm going to go a step above. I don't feel like spending that extra money on the Steelers. I'm going to take the spread. -3 to the Steelers. They win this game by a touchdown or better. I know when I even get to Sunday, I might line them to 6.5 if I get the number. Because I feel that good about the Steelers going into this game. But I don't feel good about them going into the next 4 weeks after this, though. But I feel good about them going into a game like this because this is a good proving point because I feel like a lot of the money is going to go on top of the Texans for this one right here.
No, I like where your eyes are. Like I said, I got one more money line. I might go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 out of our first 8 games I got on the money line. So usually that happens. It'll end up being a split. But I'm firm believer that the Steelers have been undervalued all year. They got the first 2 games under their belt. with the split, and now with that win, they cannot falter and go to 2-2 when they got a big opportunity to get to 3-1 in a division that you and I both know is the toughest division of all, with the Browns, with the Ravens, and then Joe Burrow now coming back. So every game is a must-win situation.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Toughest division in football, the AFC North. Now, let's get into another one of these AFC, NFC matchups. A pretty good one here as well, too. You have a Rams team that's, this Rams team is weird. You don't know what you're getting week in and week out. They're 1-2. They've lost 2 in a row. But let's keep it real. They lost 2 in a row to teams that are seen as playoff teams. And they won against a team that was a playoff team last year as well, too. When you look at the Rams schedule, they've actually done pretty well for what all of us expected what was going to happen with the Rams. Because a lot of us felt like the Rams were a team that pretty much had already were getting themselves prepared to jump in this new supposed quarterback draft that we have going on this year, and figure out what quarterback that they were going to get. But you know what, though? You can't be like that in LA. You just can't, Jeff. It's hard to do that. You can't say we're going to tank, guys. It doesn't work like that in big markets. You have to give an effort to try to win, because if you don't give an effort to try to win, fans aren't going to show up. It's that simple. SoFi is a very expensive stadium, and the Rams don't want to go through the same thing that the Raiders go through, where you have to depend on road fans to sell your stadium out. And, we just don't do that in LA. And pretty much what has to happen is that the Rams have to still be a team that's trying to win games. It doesn't matter about – they don't have time to rebuild. They're not in St. Louis anymore, Jeff. Only small market teams are allowed to rebuild. When you're a big market team, you are only allowed to be great. That's it. And if you're below great, you're worthless. So I feel that the Rams going into this game, after playing with a great effort to end the game. Yeah, they lost by 3 last night. A ho-hum, little touchdown. Who cares? But they were still fighting, Jeff. They were still fighting. That's what you got to appreciate about teams when you really don't know what the hell they are. And the Rams, to me, are a much better team than the Colts. Yeah, the Colts got a good little win against the Ravens, but we're going to get into that a little bit we'll get into that more when we talk the Ravens. I don't want to talk about that game specifically because I don't want to take too much away from what the Colts did. But pretty much the Colts made Lamar be somewhat a ball hog. And every time you make him a ball hog, they're going to lose the game. Where he's running, he's doing the passing, he's doing the coaching, he's doing everything for the team. And it never works for the Ravens. And the Colts took full advantage of that. I feel like the Colts are a little bit more confident because they feel like they got the quarterback that can actually push them to victory. But let's keep it real. Minshew didn't do that great. Minshew just got him a bunch of field goals. Anthony Richardson is the quarterback. He's going to get him in the end zone. That's different. And I feel like Anthony Richardson coming back from a concussion, if he does play this week, he's going to be a little gunshot. He's not going to be just running in there and trying to run guys over, Jeff. So I truly do feel that the Rams are on a bounce back mission this week. And I'm taking the Rams with the minus 110. This is a 50-50 spot. So why not? I'm just going to take the Rams because the Rams have the better quarterback. And that it's just that simple. And Aaron Donald is the best player on the field, and he's on their side. So the two advantages go to the Rams. So it's going to be tough for the Rams to really lose this game, in my opinion. I think the Rams win this game by 10 or better. Your thoughts? Who wins?
Short week. The light bulb went on for me on the Rams in the second half opening game against Seattle. Then, of course, they faced the 49ers. And then yesterday they played a great first half. Here's the problem no one's talking about this morning on social media. 3 trips in the red zone, 3 field goals. You are not going to go into Cincinnati on Monday night and win a football game outright by kicking field goals, and that's what happened. And in the second half, Cincinnati cranked up that defense, and a late score. They were able to get the cover or the push, whatever some people got. A blown call, by the way, in that first quarter. Tutu Atwell did not step out of bounds, by the way. That was a touchdown there. But anyways, my opening number was 1. It is still now 1 with a 46.5. A lot of money coming in on the over pops. Is it Richardson? Is it Minshew? I'm going to take the surging Colts here, believe it or not. I'm going to lean Richardson plays. Now, again, how much success will he have with Aaron Donald and company chasing him? Going to have to complete some passes downfield, which surprisingly he has done. It's a coin flip game. Does McVay stop the bleeding? Does he get him to 2-2? Or do they fall to 1-3? And then here come the Colts at 3-1 on top of that division, by the way. Colts money line -110 pops.
All right, there it is. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take another break. And when we get back, we will be jumping into some more early games, and then we'll be into our late games. So you guys stay tuned. This is the NFL Bet Exchange.
Now you and your friends can compete in the sport of kings and win big with Stable Duel. Get the app, pick your horses, and get in on the thrill of horse racing with daily games competing against other players. Bring home the glory and the cash, and move up the annual leaderboard while you leave your competition in the dust. Get in the game with Stable Duel. Play, race, win.
Good News Only Racing Club, led by the legendary Doug O'Neill, the trainer of 2 Kentucky Derby winners and I'll Have Another and Nyquist. Also trained 2-time Breeders' Cup champ Golden Sense, who are just a part of a long list of thoroughbred champions trained by Doug O'Neill. The Good News Only Racing Club has a young core of horses to look out for in Dennis's Celery, Irish Heatwave, and Notre Dame, just to name a few. Win the day every day with the Good News Only Racing Club, a proud sponsor of the NFL Bet Exchange.
All right. We are back with the NFL Bet Exchange with none other than Pop DiBiase, the primetime capper, and Mr. Jeff Dawson, the Don of Cape Cod. So, what's up?
Sidebar, and I'm asking you, did you, and if you don't have this answer, I just found it a little comical. Brianna Stewart edged out Alyssa Thomas 446 to 439 for the MVP voting, and Alyssa Thomas got 3 more first place votes, but finishes runner-up to UConn Brianna Stewart.
All right, I got to edit that out.
I said it was a sidebar, so.
Damn, NFL, but it's cool. Congratulations to Brianna, Alyssa Stewart, all of them. They did a very good job. I kind of checked out of the WNBA a few weeks ago, so but good for them though. You know what I mean? I just got kind of tired of the whole like, you guys got to watch us play. Like, dude, I don't have to do anything. Like, I'll watch you play if I want to watch you play. You guys aren't supporting us. Well, men feel the same way about certain things we do that y'all don't support. So, hey, it is what it is at the end of the day. But let's go ahead and jump into it. Let's talk about it. Let's get into this Vikings and this Panthers game. Jeff, I'm going to let you kick it off because this is another winless situation. And let's see who gets it. 0-3, 0-3, spread of 3.5 to the home team as the dog eat dog, and the over-under of 45.5. What are your thoughts and who wins the game?
When you keep backing teams and then you get off of them, they're going to bite you right in the arse. I was on the Panthers last weekend in Seattle and had opportunities and ended up losing that game. Did have the Chargers against the Vikings there. This is a Vikings team that we all knew was coming. 0-3 now travel on the road, a defense that is not good. Mr. Herbert picked him apart for 400 yards last week. A Panthers offense that's not that good either. You're expecting Cousins to have his way here. I bought the hook and took the Vikings -3, -120, 45.5. You have as a total. I had the true number of 3 and a 43.5. It's up to 45 now. This has got that 24-20. I think the Vikings can get to 27 here. If they do, it should be no problem on the cover. I do not feel good about this one. The Jets and social media go get Kirk Cousins because we all know Kirk Cousins will not be there next year. But in the same token, you got to stop the bleeding. If they lose this game and go to 0-4, well, then maybe they'll look to shop Cousins. But let's see them get the win. Let's see a little Cousins to Jefferson a couple times for us fantasy owners, pups.
Well, that's what we got to see. And it's funny because I got Cousins and Herbert, and I wish I could just start both of them at the same time, dude, because they've been killing it the last 2 weeks for me. And I'm just like, man, I wish I could just, have that dude, have one of them, just have both of them start in for one be at the running back, the other one be at the quarterback. But we can't live in a world like that. So it is what it is. But this game right here, Jeff, is a tricky one because, like you just said, the Panthers have had their way with the Vikings. Nobody is mentioned this or said this, but the Panthers and Vikings over the last the Panthers have been a much, much better team. Like they've absolutely wrecked the Vikings. But the last time the Vikings were in Carolina, they did win the game. They did win. It was a hard-fought victory. Sam Darnold was still their quarterback at the time, too, for the Panthers. I totally remember this game because it was opening day. And the Vikings were one of my, stronger picks of the day. So pretty much this is a good game, but it's a tricky game because we all remember Carolina went into Minnesota last year and absolutely wrecked them. So we'll see exactly what this game calls for at the end of the day. But I think that the Vikings have enough here because I can't really trust Andy Dalton in the spot. Andy Dalton's best years at quarterback are well behind him, and Bryce Young is still a work in progress. I'm not giving up on Bryce, so I love Bryce. Bryce is doing the best he can with the supporting group that they've handed him. Let's keep it real. If you give him, say, the same group that Herbert has or possibly the same group that Derek Carr has, things could be a lot better for him, because those are real playmakers out there. The guys he's dealing with in Carolina, they're good role players. That's what they do best. Mingo's probably a guy who's going to get good as the season goes along. But right now, they don't have much on the offensive end. They don't. And they thought they were going to have somewhat of a running game with Miles Sanders. That's not working out. And I feel like they do need to give Chuba Hubbard the ball a little bit more. Why? Because he's the better running back and because he's on my fantasy team and I need some points, Jeff. So pretty much I'm going to be real simple here. Vikings win this game by a touchdown or better because they have to. The Vikings literally, let's keep it real. The Vikings have had an opportunity to win every single one of their games. They could be 3-0 right now as well, too, except for possibly the Philadelphia game. Let's keep it real. They could be 2-1 right now, for sure. And so you look at Carolina, and you know that they're 0-3 in each. They were 0-3 regardless of anything starting off the season. You thought that they could show us something early, but they're a work in progress. So I'm taking the Vikings with the 3.5. And let's hope for the best. We don't need to overspend. I'm not spending 190 on the Vikings to just win the game when I feel like they can win this game by 10 or better. There's no point in doing that. So with that, let's move forward. Let's jump into another NFC East rivalry, and it's one of the fun ones. It's going to be the Commanders versus the Eagles, but we like to say DC versus Philly. So we got 2-1 going against 3-0, and 3-0 is probably the more dominant. Let's keep it real. And they've been a dominant team for the last year and a half or so. And they're great against the spread right now. They had a great game last night, a very thorough defensive game last night that a lot of people who, if you're a fan of theirs, you get excited about possibilities of getting back to the Super Bowl next year and all that good stuff. And you got Hurts, who's still moving and grooving and doing what he does, even though he's not, passing the ball the way that we would want him to, but he's still out there doing what he has to do. But the running game is pretty much the calling card. That's what's keeping these guys as the elite team in the NFC. And when you got the trenches set up the way that they do, you can go to war with absolutely anybody. Straight up. You can go to war with teams from every single era the way that the Eagles trenches are set up, their front seven and their offensive line. Now you got the Commanders, a team that, they won a close game week 1. They won a close game week 2. And then week 3, they had somewhat of a setback against a team in Buffalo that has Super Bowl expectations. So it just goes to show you that they're pretty good against the teams that are good, but they were pretty bad against a team that considers themselves elite in the NFL. Well, the Eagles consider themselves elite. But the thing is, though, this is a divisional game, and we know Washington always plays the Eagles tough. They always play them tough. Let's keep it real. And we know that when they go to Philadelphia, they always make these games a lot more interesting than the spread tells them to. And once again, you're handing them a high spread. When you hand the Commanders a high spread, that's not a recipe for good things to happen for the favorite, in my opinion, in the division. And we've seen this movie before. And I know a lot of people who, well, you saw how they looked last week. Well, anybody's going to look like that with 4 turnovers and 9 sacks. Okay? They had an absolute throwaway game. And Jeff, as we said at the track, draw a line through it. We moving on. And pretty much what I'm going to do here is I'm heavy on it. Commanders cover this game. And guess what, Jeff? They win this game as well, too. Because the Eagles are just too high up on that horse right now, in my opinion. And they feel untouchable, and they're very touchable right now, in my opinion. Your thoughts, and who do you have winning?
I just look back at the Buffalo Bills. They've outscored their opponents the last 2 weeks now, 75-13. They after the Raiders and now the Commanders. I was going to ask you this question. I don't know, what was it, week 8 or 9 or somewhere around there, week 10? Who gave the Eagles their first loss last year?
It was the Commanders, wasn't it?
At Philly. I think Philly was favored by like 9 or something. The Commanders came in and won outright. Tough spot for Philly. Short week, come back home 3-0. Another, dominant performance. In come the Commanders after laying the egg to the Bills. They're not giving you the 9.5 as last year. My true number was 8.5. It's down to 7 with 44 or 44.5 at South Point. I bought the hook. I took the Commanders plus 7.5 here. I don't think that Philly will take the Commanders for granted, but it is a perfect letdown spot. The key to success, obviously, keeping Sam Howell upright. You're going to have to establish Brian Robinson. I think you're going to have to use more of Gibson in the passing catch, the RB catching the ball out of the backfield. McLaurin. Got to get Dotson going a little slow. I had high expectations with Dotson this year, a little slow out of the gate. And, of course, the Washington defense is going to have to put pressure on Hurts as well. I love the points. I think it'll be a close game or closer than expected. What do we have, 44.5? I'll go 23-17 if Philly does win the game outright. But I like the 7.5 here, Pops.
I like what I'm hearing there. Let's go ahead and get into another divisional game, and that's going to be this AFC North game right here with the Ravens coming in 2-1, the Browns 2-1. The Browns are a 2.5-point favorite again at home against the Ravens like they were last year for a Saturday game. And then also the over-under of 41.5 for this game as well, too. They're saying his defense. I had this one actually set up at 37.5 on the over-under, Jeff, for this one. And I had this being a 1.5 on my lines when it comes to the odds on this game. So I feel like they are giving the Browns a lot of love because they know that the Browns are going to be the sexy pick of this week. The Browns have now been crowned as the best defense in the NFL, or at least in the AFC. They are seen as a team that can go ahead and really dominate a game with their defense, and their offense just has to do a little something, keep the ball safe, and they can go ahead and win the game. But that's not how it works. The NFL is a tough place. It's a week-to-week season. I could say this: the Browns probably went against 3 offenses that were pretty flat the first 3 weeks of the season. We know the Steelers had their issues going into week 2. We know that Joe Burrow is hurt and has a hamstring issue. And come on, the Titans scored over 17 points for the first time in like 15 games week 2. So they were destined to have a setback type of game. So the Browns defense is awesome. They are an absolute unit, but you can't sit up in here and think that that unit is going to be there every single week, especially in a game against a divisional opponent that knows how to attack that defense. And what are the Browns going to do against the running quarterback here? What are the Browns going to do against the short screen game that's going to be ran? I can't trust the Ravens, though, coming into this game. I'm going to give you the reasons why. Lamar Jackson was a great quarterback 3 years ago. He was a great quarterback. And then these little minor injuries started occurring. And his game has regressed more and more every time he comes back. And I truly do feel that what the coach did was they said, if we take away the broken plays, he can't beat us. All he can do is just set him up for field goals. Take away the broken plays, keep everything in front of us, make him play quarterback today, limit the runs, and when he runs, hit him and hit him hard. Grab his leg, frustrate him, get him mad. Because once we get him at that point, we got him. We got him. Easy money. We got him. And that's exactly what the Colts did. If the Colts had a better quarterback, they would have blew him out. Let's keep it real. If they had a better quarterback, they would have blew him out. And the way that the Browns are setting up in this game, this looks like it's going to be another lights out performance from both sides of the ball coming into this one. Because at the end of the day, what does Lamar truly have other than Zay Flowers? He has Andrews, who's hurt. The offensive line is not playing up to par right now. And he has a running back by committee situation where these guys would be stars in the USFL, but they're just practice squad guys in the NFL. So pretty much I'm going to go ahead and take the Browns with the minus 145 to win this game straight up because I can't trust no spread. We just going to go ahead and spend the extra change, and we're going to go ahead and take this victory. What are your thoughts, and who wins this game or who covers for you, Jeff?
My true number was a pick and a 42. It's up to 2.5 of the 41.5 everywhere in Vegas, but South Point at 42. I mean, let's be realistic here. I mean, I think the Ravens got caught peeking, if you want my honest 2 cents. They were just, we'll just sleepwalk through last Sunday's game. And, Tucker had an opportunity to win the game. Yes, it was 61-yarder. He did miss it. But my point is 2-1 versus 3-0, where you can afford to lose, where the loser of this game will now be 2-2, again, in the toughest division in the NFL. I don't want to anoint Cleveland just yet. I just think Watson has been inconsistent. Lamar's been inconsistent. You did call it. You got a backfield here with J.K. Dobbins out for the year. The Gus bus. You don't have a lot back there. If it was me, if I was the owner of the Ravens, I would be on the horn with Indy. I would see what it takes to get a Jonathan Taylor. So you have him for the second half of the year to get him. There's no stability back there. Justice Hill, turf toe or toe injury. So it's Zay Flowers in a cloud of dust. Mark Andrews is banged up. OBJ is what we expected, hurt as usual. You're going to have to win it with defense. You're going to have to win it with Lamar's legs. I like the Ravens here, plus the 3 minus 120. I bought the hook. I wouldn't be shocked if they won the game outright. And again, Lamar as a 3.5 point dog has been like money in the bank. I think he's like 12-1 or something stupid. So I'm leaning Ravens in a sense of urgency. Got to win this one. We'll see, Pops.
All right. So let's go ahead and move forward to our next game, and that's going to be the late games. We started with our late games, and we only got 3, Jeff. So, that's going to be pretty cool, and it's going to be this one to kick us off. It's going to be the Raiders 1-2 going against the Chargers 1-2. Chargers a -4 favorite at SoFi. First home game since week 1. Over under 47.5. Everything kind of is matching up really perfect. It's crazy how my odds and the opening lines all kind of matched up in a precise way. But I felt like this had to be a 4 for the Chargers because after what the Raiders just did, they lost everybody's faith. They lost everybody because Josh McDaniels finally exposed himself for everybody to see again. Because the same BS happened in Denver. The same situation. How does this man get another job as a head coach in the NFL?
He
They
doesn't.
already told you that he was a terrible coach. When NFL players come out and come on TV shows and say that the Raiders made a bad hire and this guy ruined my career and this guy ruined our team and he ruined everything in the locker room, and then you guys still give him a job. Only Mark Davis. Because Mark Davis liked the guy because he probably complimented his haircut. I don't know what he did to convince Mark Davis that he was the man for the position for the Raiders. Al Davis would have never let this man walk into his headquarters, let alone call his agent for a job opportunity. But I think Belichick just wanted to throw him down the road anyway. I think Belichick lied. Oh, yeah, he's a great coach. He's a great person. And get him out of here, man. Because I know one thing. When this is all said and done, he's not going back to New England. Let's keep it real. That's not happening. That's over with. And pretty much he'll never coach an NFL team again after this. I don't feel he deserves to even be a part of an NFL franchise as an offensive coordinator anymore. Because you can't just live off of Tom Brady your whole life. Now you're starting to become the Browns' first coach when they came back, Palmer, where you're living off of what you did at some other stop because of some other player. And, I already ran it off about Josh yesterday. But the Raiders are not going to do anything with this guy as the head coach. It's that simple. And literally, he set it up for the Raiders to have another embarrassing moment in Raider history where he kicks a field goal and he knows the Raiders can't stop a nosebleed in a clutch situation. And still, he goes ahead and does it. And now the Raiders are 1-2. And it's just an absolute joke. That's a terrible way to start your season at home. And it's a terrible way to really, tell the fans that you don't care about actually winning the game. You just want to see what you can strategize with. And that was a 1933 mentality right there. All right, ran over. I'll make this really quick and really simple. The Chargers win because the Chargers are the better team. It's that simple. The Chargers have the best player in football right now in Justin Herbert. Well, maybe not the best player, but he is damn sure the best quarterback in football right now. Last week should have proved it alone what Justin Herbert's capable of doing. The only thing that stopped him from being 3-0 right now is his raggedy defense. That's it. And I feel like the Chargers figured out what to do on the defensive end of the ball in the final 10 minutes of that game last week as well, too, Jeff. They stopped blitzing so much, and they just started rushing their 4 best pass rushers and dropping everybody back in coverage and making sure that they kept everything in front of them and not get burnt on the back end. And I think if they come in here with that mentality and you don't have and Devontae Adams is not focused, they're going to beat them by 20 or better. Okay? And I honestly think if I was on the Raiders right now, I wouldn't want to play another down for McDaniel. So you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to just play lazy. You going to have to cut me, bro, because I don't want to play for this dude no more. I'm taking the Chargers -4. Jeff, your thoughts? Who wins?
Well, on paper, this looks like the easiest game of the week. My true number was a 4.5. It's at 51, some 51.5. This one reeks like opening week, Pops. They were 3-point dogs, 3.5-point dogs at Denver, and they go in and not only cover but win the game outright. Now, the funny thing also on this line is the fact that Jimmy G is in concussion protocol. We know he's not a quick healer. So you're trying to tell me Stidham and company is going to come in here to SoFi and outscore the Chargers? I can't see it. I bought the hook -3.5, but I'm just going to say buyer beware. This game reeks. This game should be -6 right now at least. Something's going on here. I don't like it. Buy now and just don't be stepping on the gas on this one, because Herbert coming off 400 yards against this Raider defense, he should put up another 400. I know there's no Big Mike. Hope he heals quicker than, he's often injured. And so insert Joshua Palmer. If he's on your waiver wires, go pick him up. They'll be easing Quentin Johnson, the rookie from TCU, into the lineup as well. I don't expect Austin Eckler. Their bye week, I think, if I remember correctly, is next week. The Chargers keep Staley. I'm telling you right now, I would move Staley to the right, give him a clipboard, and let Kellen Moore be the head coach. I mean, they should have lost because of a stupidity last week. Chargers -3.5 and move on.
All right. So, Jeff, you heard him. We moving on. We're not going to sit here living with the Chargers all day. But you know what? Real quick, you know what? We will stay here. I was going to go take us to our final commercial break, but let's just stay here, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to get this one out of here. We're going to go ahead and continue this show commercial free. All right. So pretty much, let's go ahead and talk about our next game, which is going to be this one right here. Actually, no, it's going to be this one right here. It's going to be the Pats and the Cowboys. The Pats coming in here 1-2. The Cowboys are 2-1. It's a 7-point spread to the Cowboys, over under 42.5. And the reason why the Cowboys are a 7-point favorite is because now we're playing a popularity contest. It's not even about setting a good line. It's just that if you set the line at 3.5, you won't get any Patriots money. If you set the line at 4.5, you won't get any Patriots money. If you set the line at 5.5, you won't get any Patriots money. But once you put it at 7, everybody's going to take the Patriots, because what you're pretty much telling us is that the Cowboys may lose this game, because the Cowboys are not to be trusted. Let's keep it real. The Cowboys showed truly who they are. They're a very talented team, but they're another one that plays down to their competition. If their competition isn't up to tier or one of them teams, they may mess around and lose to that team, or they may mess around and have to beat that team by a final kick or something of that nature. I feel like the Cowboys were caught a little bit off guard last week because they did lose Trayvon Diggs, and they had to figure out how to go with life without him. And he proves to be very integral to this team as well. So that's something that's very big in a sense for the Cowboys, but they can make the proper adjustments this week. They're going against a quarterback that's a bit better than Dobbs, but he doesn't have the same type of playmaking that Dobbs' group had, or pretty much it's a new week, and the Cowboys will probably throw in a guy that is going to be much better. And I think that the Diggs replacement was just a bit nervous. They took advantage of his side of the ball, and it happens. That's the NFL. That's why I say it's a week-to-week league. And I know a lot of people are going to come into this game, and they're going to be in love with the Patriots. And I don't blame them, because I'm in love with the Patriots this week as well, too, in this game, because after what the Cowboys did last week, I don't trust them, Jeff. I don't want to be nowhere near them, Jeff. So I'm going to take the Pats with the +7, and I'm going to keep it real with everybody. There's a strong possibility the Patriots can win this game as well, too, because Bill Belichick owns the Cowboys. And guess what? Zeke Elliott was the lead rusher last week in the Pats' first victory of the season with 80 yards. What you think Belichick going to do this week? Belichick gives him the ball 10 more times than he did last week. I think the guy goes for 150, scores 2 touchdowns. How about that? Your thoughts? Who wins?
Well, the hardest part, obviously, Dallas got caught. I don't want to say peeking, but again, in divisional games, especially on the road, if you come in there blase, you're going to get run over by Dobbs and company, which was a shocker to most. And, in the Circa Survivor contest, I think 2,000 people lost there between them and the Jags, and the Ravens actually was about 3,400. You know what the problem for Dallas is they're running for the hills is the fact not only Zeke, but the Patriots hired they brought on Will Greer off the practice squad. So now they got 2 Dallas informants that knows all the cadences and knows all this. So Dallas is running around this week trying to change their verbiage, their cadences, whatever it is, because now you got 2 spies on the Patriots team. I do know this. I thought the initial number would be a lot higher before Dallas laid the egg. A Patriots O-line that is just awful. So you add Micah Parsons and company putting all that heat on them. No Diggs, of course, with the injury. A number at 7 where the Sharps pounded the Patriots. I bought the hook to 7.5. My true number was 7 with a 42.5. It's up to 43.5. I think the Patriots, a lot of the Sharps are looking at is what the defense has done for the Patriots. Look who they faced, Pops. They faced the Eagles opening week. Okay. Then they faced the Dolphins, 2 high-powered offenses. Okay. And then they manifested a muscle win at the Jets with no offense. So they just brought in a quarterback too off the scrap heap, which we'll talk about in a second. Pats plus 7.5. Upset alert here. Dallas, if you don't come to play, you could be 2-2 like the New England Patriots at 4:00.
And there it is. All right. So let's go ahead and move forward to another divisional game. And that's going to be the NFC West divisional game. And that's going to be the Cardinals, the Desert Birds, going against the San Francisco 49ers, 3-0. And probably the most dominant team in the NFL right now. Let's keep it real. They've absolutely have wrecked teams. It's not that they're even, making it seem like it's supposed to be close. They are just wrecking teams. It's all they're doing right now. Jeff is just literally being a nuisance. And I know all the Niner fans are loving every moment of that situation as well, too. You got a spread of 14 for the 49ers this week. Once again, Arizona is going to be the dog this week. Arizona started off this season as a +6 to start the season off. The second week of the year, they were a +5, 4.5. Then last week, they were +12.5. When are we going to learn our lesson with the Cardinals? You know what I mean? The Cardinals are 3-0 against the spread. And you know what? I'm not one bit surprised, Jeff. Not one bit surprised. Me and Jeff told you guys during our preview of the Cardinals, they're not going to be a playoff team, but what they will be is a covering team. They may be the most profitable team on the board this year because they're going to have favorable spreads that they can cover each week because they're not going to be taken as seriously as they should be. But I feel bad for them this week because I actually switched my play at the last minute. I was just going to go ho-hum and say, you know what? Oh, yeah, man, let me go ahead and take the Cardinals, because they'll cover this week, just like you had them week 1, because I didn't have them week 2 and I didn't have them week 3. But I had the feeling that they would cover. And pretty much what I did here was I said, you know what? We're going to go in reverse because we know who the most popular pick is going to be on the spread this week. It's going to be the Cardinals because they got the most favorable spread, and people feel like they're going to be smart this week by taking the Cardinals. Well, I'm about to be a little cocky here, but this is the week where the Cardinals absolutely get took to the woodshed. 49ers by 17 or better, bro. I'm taking the 13.5. I'm doing what Jeff does. I'm going to spend an extra dime and take the 13.5 for them to win by 2 touchdowns. But I feel like we safe with them winning by 17 or better. I feel confident in this because I did the same thing last week with the Niners, and they took care of me on the alternate spread last week on the 12.5. So why not trust them again on the 13.5 against an even worse team in the Cardinals? And they got 10 days of rest as well, too. So book it, Jeff. 13.5 to the 49ers win a absolute beatdown of the Cardinals. Your thoughts, and who do you have covering or winning this game?
My true number was 14 with a 41.5. Now up to 44 at Circa, 43 at South Point, and 43.5 at the Westgate. When I'm breaking down basic math, can the Cardinals get to 13, 14, or even 17? Dobbs has been amazing. Let's get real here. Everyone's got San Fran versus Philly this year already, and we're only at week 3 now into week 4. Dominant on both sides of the ball. Is Ayuk going to play this week? I think he will. How many turnovers will Dobbs have? I bought the hook to 14.5. So if this lands on 14 pops, say 27-13, we both win here. Are the Cardinals going to win outright? No. I would use the 49ers in your suicide pools this week. Just survive in advance. Don't try to get cute like everyone did last week with the Cowboys, with the Ravens, with the Jaguars. They're outside looking in. If you haven't used the 49ers, use the 49ers in your survivor pools. I think the Cards might cover the 14 and a hook. Obviously, you can't have 2 or 3 turnovers. Try to slow McCaffrey down. Good luck. But give me the 14.5 and pray, pups.
Well, me and Jeff, you know what? There will be no loser. There will be no loser here if we wound up having a 2 touchdown win for the 49ers. So we meet in the middle and we both win. So that's the way that you can win in this game, is where you take a 13.5 on one side, you take a 14.5 on the other side, and then meet me in the middle. It can happen. It can happen. All right. So let's move forward and talk about our Sunday night football game. And the Sunday night football game, this one should be a fun one because we have the Jets and the Chiefs. The Chiefs coming in here as a monster favorite once again for the Sunday night football game. They are 2-1 coming into this game. You got a Jets team that is 1-2 coming into this game. So there's a lot of things that you look at and you say to yourself, okay, the Jets don't have a quarterback. And you know what? I was the biggest Zach Wilson apologist there was. Jeff knows this. I was defending the guy left and right as if I was the president of the Zach Wilson fan club. And you know what? I kind of didn't really even care about the kid. I just didn't like the way that everybody had a comment or something to say, and they've never stepped on an NFL field and threw a damn football before in their lives. But they think it's so easy because they see it on TV, and it's not. But I hate to say it, Zach Wilson is not an NFL quarterback. He has no business being a starter in the NFL. This is a guy who could be good if he sits and gets to learn the game for a good 3 or 4 years before stepping on the field and being a serious contender as a starter in this league. But we have this new attitude and this new rushing mentality where every rookie has to start. Every rookie has to be the face of the franchise. No rookie has truly earned their spot as the face of the franchise, the true leader of the team. They just get thrown into the spot because they led a bunch of guys in college. College and the NFL are 2 different places. And a lot of times you're leading guys that are younger than you. You're not leading guys that are the same age as you or older than you. So we're starting to constantly take the quarterback that has the potential to be like Patrick Mahomes, to be like Aaron Rodgers, to be like Tom Brady, instead of going after the guy that is like Tom Brady and started X amount of college football games. And Peyton Manning started X amount of college football games. They forget those guys. And it's funny because those rookies actually did very well during the preseason. DTR, I think he started over 40 games at UCLA. The way DTR played, he played better than every single guy that was drafted this year in the first round. Why? Because he has the experience of the position. He's been in all types of scenarios and situations that can call for him to be a good quarterback. The quarterback position is tough. You're not going to get it and be the maestro of quarterbacks when you've only played 11 college football games as a starter. You know, it's tough, Jeff. It's tough. And they try to make it seem like it's easy. Cam Newton really made the bar really high because Cam Newton's a guy that needed only 13 college football games to be the number one pick in the draft. Well, 13 big-time college football games to be the number one pick in the draft. But Cam Newton is a freak of nature. It's different. It's not the same. So when I get down to this, I feel like the Jets defense is going to be the star. And I feel like every time Patrick has to deal with a defense that knows what they're doing out there and they know that they're going to have to do more for this team to really even be in the game. And once again, they're at home again. And I feel like this home crowd is going to be energetic and they're going to at least root on the defense. And the defense is going to respond to that like they did week one. And we're going to get the Jets to cover, Jeff. How about that? Plus 9.5. Because I don't need to get into how good the Chiefs are. We know how good the Chiefs are. They're the defending damn national world champions. They're the Super Bowl champs. Yes, we know that. We know how good they are. But we know how they are too when it comes down to playing teams like the Jets and them not taking them as seriously as they should. And you're dealing with the defensive team as well, too, which can give Patrick Mahomes fits. So I'm taking the plus 9.5. It's going to be a close, low-scoring game. Mark my words.
Chiefs opening Thursday night versus the Lions, lay an egg. No Travis Kelce, no Chris Jones. And then week 2, Chris Jones is in the building. Travis Kelce is in the building. A little rock, paper, scissor fight, but they defeat the Jaguars. Then in come the Bears. They're just an absolute whooping last week. Now on prime time, the Jets have signed Trevor Siemian. So here's my gut. Passes the physical, learns the playbook. If he knows enough of the playbook, your starting quarterback for the Jets Sunday night will be Trevor Siemian. I think we've seen the last of Zach Wilson. With that said, my number was 9 with a 44. It's now 9.5 with a 43 in most spots other than South Point. Let's be realistic. By kickoff, this will be 10. The sharps will be on the plus 10. The public will be on Kansas City. I bought the hook. I got the Chiefs minus 9. I just think a defensive struggle initially. Patrick will find some spots, whether it be Pacheco, whether it be McKinnon, whether it be Kelce, whether it be Racey Rice, Sky Moore. It is what it is. The final score will probably be something like 27-13 Chiefs. I like the Chiefs minus the 9 here, Pops.
All right. I like. All right. So let's get into our final game, and that's going to be Monday Night Football. You ready for a party? You know, Dan and Mike and who's the other one? Dan, Mike, and Frank. Yeah, you know. But that was my favorite crew of Monday Night Football was Dan Deardoff, Frank Gifford, and Al Michaels, man. And you thought he was better.
Turn out the lights. The party's over.
And I don't and I know all my OGs would be like Howard Cosell and Dandy Don. I wasn't around for all that, dude. My dad was partying in clubs and things like that at that point in time when that guy was in the booth. You know what I mean? I was not a thought. I don't think my parents didn't even meet each other yet. So, you know, I can't sit up here and claim, I can't claim him, but I can claim the 3 wise men. And Dan Deardoff, Frank Gifford, and Al Michaels were gems. And the reason why they were gems was because Al Michaels is a great voice and he's a smart man. You know what I mean? He's going to do his research. But Frank Gifford was a good balance of what the NFL used to be, but he's such a classy dude. You know what I mean? He was a classy guy. You know what I mean? He wasn't rough and yeah, well, I love me some football. He was more let's go to the theater and watch a movie and watch this great play, you know? But Dan Dierdorf, that guy sits right next to you in the bar and he talks a mile a minute and he got all the information in the world and all the best stories ever. So it was always fun. But let's go ahead. Monday Night Football. We got the Seahawks in 2-1. We got the Giants 1-2. We got both teams, looking pretty decent coming in here. Well, 1.5 point spread to the Giants. The over under 46.5. Jeff, who do you have winning this game, and what are your thoughts?
No, my true number was Seattle -2 with a 44.5. It's already up to 46.5 now. With I got a pick at South Point. I got -1.5 at Westgate and -1.5 at Circa. That number alone tells me that I think Barkley will be playing. Expect some points to be scored. My sleeper in this game is not Darren Waller, it's not Barkley, it's Jalen Hyatt for the Giants. Will score his first NFL touchdown. I'll make it short and sweet. I was looking for some regression from Seattle. You can run on him. Run on them, excuse me. Kenneth Walker looking real good on that side. DK fighting through some rib issues. Tyler Lockett doing his gentleman's duty every weekend. Haven't seen Mr. Njigba much, so maybe look for him to finally make a statement here. I like the Giants to get the win here, Pops. I really, truly do. I like them to get to 2-2, and I look for the Seahawks to falter to 2-2. I get to hear Giants +2. If you got them at -1.5, I apologize. Then I would take the Giants in the money line, Pops.
All right. Well, Jeff, you know what time it is. Look, we got 4 games that they should have just made a pick 'em. All right. So you ain't at fault about nothing. All right, because lines makers know what they did this week. It's 50-50 games, dude, because last week they tried to throw in we got one size. They had 7 spreads that were over 7 last week. You know what I mean? So pretty much half the schedule was 7 or better. This week, most of the schedule is 2.5 or better. So that's what they're showing us. 3. That's what they're telling us this week. We're going 50-50-50 here. But this might be the best week for all the losers this week, in a sense. You know what I mean? Because now you kind of made it more easier for people that have been losing for the last 3 weeks. Y'all got to understand how this game works in the NFL. Y'all truly do, man. Like, seriously. Like, y'all got to really start getting this shit and listening. You know what I mean? And stop worrying about Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift and all these people that had nothing to do with playing, scoring touchdowns and kicking field goals and getting sacks. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and be a little contrarian here. I know that Seattle is going to be the most popular pick here because the Seahawks have the better offense, but they don't have the better defense. Let's just keep it real. They have a defense that Daniel Jones can actually carve up and destroy. So, Jeff, your pick with the Giants is brilliant because they're playing at home again. And what happened last time they were at home? They got beat 40-0. This is the ultimate bounce back effort for a team. And do you want to embarrass yourself twice on national television? Because this game's on ABC. The game's not on ESPN. The game's going to be on ABC. That's national. That's local. That's Jeff's local network right there. Jeff can put in Channel 5 or whatever ABC is in Cape Cod, and it's right there. He doesn't have to go to a cable situation for that or a streaming situation. So that means everybody and their mama going to be watching the game Monday night. All right? So I know the Giants don't want to embarrass themselves again. So they won't embarrass themselves by losing by 40. They'll just go ahead and lose by 10 this time, Jeff. How about that?
There you go.
How about that? So I'm taking the Seahawks with the +105. And I know it's tricky because the Seahawks are not that automatic winner for you anymore. They are a team that you do have to question every time going in because the defense is that bad. It's really that simple. So, man, I had a lot of fun with you today, Jeff. And I know I probably kept you about probably 20 minutes, a little bit longer, but you know what? Who cares? We're having a good time. And you know what? All this stuff is going to get cut up anyway and be put onto individual games regardless. So it's all good, but I'm always excited to talk about the NFL. We are in week 4. I would say that this is about time the NFL actually starts. The first 3 weeks, to me, I will always say this, they're throwaways. You know, they're not going to make a difference at the end of the year. Some of them will, but most of them won't. It's all about right now until the end of February, until the end of December. That's how we put this season together. I will say this, the next 8 weeks will determine exactly what we're truly looking at, or really the month of October. Jeff, your final thoughts before we wrap this thing up.
Yeah, this week here will be, obviously we talk about teams that start 0-2 and the chances of making the playoffs versus teams that are 0-3, which if you start the year 0-3, you have a 2% chance to make the playoffs. I like this week here because now we'll have 1 month underneath us. We'll be able to get a real visualization of, the teams that are good, the teams that are mediocre, which the NFL wants, because the more teams that are still in the playoff hunt, the better off it is for ratings. And then, of course, the cellar dwellers there. And don't forget, week 5 starts our bye week. So this is the final piece to the first month in the puzzle. Sunday is October 1st already. So there's some big games here. The 0-3 teams battling, that's all it is hey, one team's going to get a win and the other team's going to be 0-4 and start thinking about next year's draft. So excited. And always I like to close with telling everyone, listen, we're just at the quarter pole after this week, okay? We got October, November, and December. So just be careful. Find your spots. Listen to what we had to say. Check off the boxes that you like. Get your plays in and stop chasing. Enjoy the action on Sunday, then Monday Night Football, and get ready for week 5 next Tuesday.
And you are right on the money about that. And I will finish with this and say that, when it comes down to this point, I tell them every time, every month is a different quarter for the NFL season. September is first quarter. October is the second quarter. A lot of teams are different in the second quarter than they were in the first quarter. It's a week-by-week league. We'll always keep that in mind. Week-by-week league, any given Sunday. In reality, there is never any upsets because these are grown pros playing each other. And so they're supposed to show up because that's their job, to show up. So with that, another great episode of the NFL Bet Exchange with the Don of Cape Cod himself, Mr. Jeff Dawson, and me, the one and only Pop DiBiase, the primetime capper, and we are out of here. So we bid adieu. Toodles!
Thank you for tuning in to the NFL Bet Exchange, where the sharpest bets are laid. This show